So, as per the Constitution, which is on our website if everyone's not read it, which is the rules that govern our supporters group and how it all works, in the first founding years, if a committee member steps aside, it's down to the current committee to vote in a replacement. So we did that, and I'm pleased to welcome Tracy, who was unanimously voted onto the position of Vice Chair. Many of you will recognise Tracy. She's a very dedicated member of our supporters base. She can be seen at all our home and away games up and down the country. So we're really excited to have Tracy on board for this season, and we look forward to her utilising her skills and her knowledge in the role. Now we're entering our second full season as a supporters club. Any vacant committee places at the end of this season will be open to any of the current supporters club full members to stand for election. So if you're a full member this season, you are able to stand for any of the vacant committee places next year. So full details on which of those committee places are going to be vacant and how to submit your intention to stand for election is going to be sent out after Christmas. So keep an eye out for that if you're interested. Last season was our first full season as a supporters club accepting members. We were really blown away by the amount of people who signed up, and you'll hear more about that from Susie in a minute. But we really were taken aback by how many people signed up as full members. Having so many full members gave us the finances to support some key projects and ideas which were voted for by our members in our 2024 supporters survey. Throughout the season, we awarded appearance trophies to squad members to commemorate their landmark appearances, so 50, 100, 150. And thanks to the kind donation of the commemorative shields from two of our members, Sarah and Janet, who are here tonight, we were again able to send both Player and Young Player of the Season awards to recipients voted for by our members. As well as those things, we wanted to use some of our funds to support local girls' football or initiatives, and we started close to home with Pompey in the community, where we provided a number of portable substitute benches for the Pompey girls' youth teams. They were very well received by PIGC, and none of that would have been possible without our full members. In the coming month, we're going to be reaching out to our members via email for suggestions and ideas of local girls' teams or girls' football initiatives that you think we should sponsor this season. Look out for that email, and please give us any thoughts. If there's any teams that your children are linked to, any ideas you've got, please send them in. Throughout the season, we're going to look to have regular supporters meetings. We'll probably have another one again around Christmas, New Year, and then another one at the end of the season. We might have one in between, but probably guarantee those three. Okay, so before I hand over to Susie, I've just got time for a small presentation. So each year at our AGM, we're going to be presenting a special recognition award. This is an award presented to someone who has gone above and beyond to support and promote women's football. This year, the award is going to someone who has used his position as a presenter at Express FM to promote the women's team for many years. Way before the women's game was as big as it is now, and our women's team were playing in front of much smaller attendances. He introduced regular women's updates to the Express FM Football Hour and has had women's teams, officials, players and fans as guests on a regular basis. He's also been involved in bringing Express FM commentary to some of the women's games. He's always used his position at Express FM to positively introduce the women's team to a wider fan base without personal agenda or reward. We felt that this level of support should be rightly rewarded, and it's our pleasure to announce that the winner of the Portsmouth Women Supporters Club 2025 Special Recognition Award is Jake Smith. So Jake, would you like to come up? So huge thank you to Jake. I remember him asking me on the Football Hour once, very nervous, like, oh my God, you want me on? But yeah, Tracy, you've been on as well. Your commitment to the women's team is duly noted, and you've done a fantastic job for many, many years, way before women's football was a big thing. So thank you very much for all you've done. Okay, so that's everything from me. I'm now going to hand over to Susie, who's going to go through our 24-25 membership numbers.
Good evening, everyone. My role at the AGM is to present the member numbers for the previous year. For the season 24-25, the Portsmouth Women Supporters Club had 147 full members and 17 associate members. Thank you to everyone who has renewed their full membership so far for the upcoming season. We have had a large number of renewals so far, and if you have not had a chance yet, it's not too late. You can log in through the website at any time and renew. You can also renew or join the Supporters Club tonight by speaking to me after the Q&A. Our member packs are well on their way to be completed. We have had new pin badges designed, and this year we'll be including a Portsmouth Women Supporters Club window sticker. We have had some pin badges and window stickers here tonight if you wanted to have a look. So thank you, and I'll now hand you over to our Treasurer Brad, who will go through the club's finances.
There's only one slide to show you, so it's fairly simple. Here is the summary. We started the year with £123. That was the balance of what we were gifted from the Portsmouth Supporters Trust. Very generously gave us £200 seed money. So the initial costs were £77 to establish us. In the year we've received just over £2,300 in, and that's all from membership. There's no other income, it's just from membership sign-ups. We spent £1,400, and our closing balance on the 31st of July was just under £1,000. So just a little breakdown of what that's been spent on. So the cost of the membership packs was just under £900. So we've got the stickers from this year, £142. So the complexity of the finances are that because of when we launched, we've got some income from last year and a little bit of income from this year, but we've also got some expenditure from last year and this year. But it kind of levels itself out. So regardless of the in and out, the closing balance of £998 is good and is reflective of where we are. So the cost of business is what we need to keep going. It's the website, it's the member mojo, so we can sign people up. So that was just over £260. We donated £257 to Pompey and the community for the benches. We spent £46 on trophies for the players, the recognition, and as I mentioned, it's just under £900 for the membership packs. So all in all, we're in a good position. So it's one of our stated aims is that we don't want to be, when we hand over, we don't want to hand over a treasury with no money, and there should be a healthy balance for whoever takes over from us.
Can I just ask about postage?
Yeah.
Do you know roughly how much you saved by people actually collecting their packs rather than...
Yeah, a phenomenal amount of money. Postage is so expensive. Again, this is so credit to our fan base, because we obviously, maybe a bit naively in the first year, said, look, we'll post the packs out. And then when we went to buy the stamps, we're like, oh, excuse me. It was phenomenally expensive. The stamps, I can't remember how much they were.
It was well over £100 for the stamps and envelopes.
We had to get large letters, because it was quite a thick envelope.
Yeah, the pin badge made it too thick, it had to be a large letter. So we saved a lot of money, and then almost immediately when we put that out, we had several people email saying, look, we'll pay for our own postage, insisting they pay for their own postage last year, and then lots of people suggested that we should just add it on to the membership this year, which we did. So, but yeah, people collecting it does, obviously, not only that, but we lost a few pin badges in the post and things, which is obviously going to happen, but we do have spares, so if anyone's lost their founders badge or wants a spare, we do have some spares, so just ask. Any other questions? Okay, so before we do the little break and jiggle around, just a final huge thank you. You won't hear from us again tonight, it's all about the Q&A now. Just really a heartfelt thank you. It's been quite a challenge to set the Supporters Club up. Many hours meeting with bodies like the FSA, which is our Football Supporters Association. I think when we took it on and we went to create the Supporters Club, I had absolutely no clue what it entailed and how much paperwork and box ticking you have to do to get it up and running. And then when all the membership sign-ups started coming in, we really felt the weight of responsibility to you all to make sure the Supporters Club was standing for the right thing. And I'm very, very, very strong views on exactly what the Supporters Club should do. I believe it's here to unite our fan base and be a positive thing for the club. Yes, we are here to challenge the club when necessary, but we're not here to vilify them and trip them up. And I think we've built a really good relationship with them, hence why the Q&A panel tonight is some of the biggest names in the club, because they're willing to come here because they know that we'll be fair and we'll ask them the balanced questions, and we haven't ever set to, we're not a supporters club where we're just going to ignore what the club's doing. We're here to challenge them, but we're here to challenge them in the right way, and we've really tried to do that over our first 2 years. And hopefully that will carry on in the next few years. Our full members have been absolutely amazing. Like the amount of people I speak to, I recognise almost every single person in this room. Speaking to you all on a match day is amazing. Getting your thoughts, your ideas and your positivity is absolutely brilliant. And without you guys and your commitment and coming along to events like tonight, we wouldn't really have a supporters club worthy of anything. So just a huge thank you to all of you, and keep contributing, keep contacting us. If you've got your views, stop us on a match day, email us in. We want your views, we want to hear what you've got to say. Our Facebook group is very active. If you're on it, we've got 980 members on there now, and that includes doing a purge of about 100 bots out of there earlier in the summer. So yeah, a huge number of people, and it's great to see lots of engagement on there as well. So yeah, just a huge thank you to you all, and yeah, really consider whether you want to be part of the committee next year, because like I say, that a number of the committee places will be up available next year, so really have a think about that. And if you've got any questions about what that entails, then feel free to ask one of us and we can help you.
Just a quick one, Ian.
Yep.
Will the minutes of this meeting be put up on the website?
So yeah, we can do. We tend to do it in the format of the video, but we can do written minutes. Yeah, if that's a thing, we can certainly do that. We could cover the brief bullet points. We could do that and put it out on the website if people would like that. Yeah, no problem at all. We can do that.
Very quick question. The Constitution, where is it accessible?
So the Constitution's on the website. So if you go through the top menu, it's written there. We have had a few questions about the Constitution. The Constitution, it basically, if you don't know, it's basically the rules and governance of the supporters club and how everything works, and it's pretty watertight. And we had to have it quite watertight because we're taking your money. So if we're taking your money, we have a responsibility to you to make sure it's fair. It's not a mates club where I know like you have a husband and wife duo on the founder committee, but it's not a mates club. It's not. We're not here just protecting our own thing and spending money on what we want to spend it on. The committee was written, we had some help from the FSA to write it, because they obviously have lots of other supporters clubs write theirs, and we had about 7 or 8 football clubs, including Arsenal, Tottenham, give us their constitutions, and we basically wrote ours based off what other people had done, so we had a working model to base ours off of. If you haven't had time to read it, I suggest maybe take some time. I'll say 5 minutes, but you might need 10. But especially if you're thinking of standing for a committee place, because everything is laid out in there what you're going to need to do and how you put yourself forward for that. So.
Right, we're now going to start our Q&A. We're really lucky to be joined by Pompey CEO Andy Cullen, Head of Women's Football Brooke, Chaplen, Women's Manager Jay Sadler, and Women's Captain Jazz Ball. Have we got any questions to start off with? Who wants to go first?
Jazz, have you done an initiation song? Have you done an initiation song?
Yeah, I did it back in
January.
Oh, sorry. Is this working?
There's a section.
Is this working?
He needs to get everyone.
Are you trying to get me to sing into the mic?
Well,
Supporters club meeting initiation or what?
go for it.
You don't want that.
Can you give us the first?
No, I did one back in January, Newcastle away, first away game, so That's behind me now. We're doing another one.
What was it?
Shake It Off by Taylor Swift.
Come on. Go on.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, well,
Oh.
I'll start it. Hello. This is a question for Andy. Andy, so I guess everyone has been following the development of women's football, especially over the summer with the rebranding and of the leagues and things like that. One thing that worries me as a women's football supporter is the continued increased requirements of the league on clubs. So they're making it more and more expensive all the time for clubs to have women's team in the top 2 tier. So the costing requirements are going up all the time. Yet the money is not in the women's game yet to support that. So clubs are expected to basically just foot the bill. As an experienced businessman, like, is this viable to carry on? And do you see that changing to the point where there will be enough money in the game to counteract the expected or the expenditure that you're expected to make to keep a team in that division?
Right. Was that a bit switched up?
I just use one.
Is that better? Yeah. I've forgotten the question now, Ian. So, no, I think probably the starting point is to first of all say this is a massive opportunity. It's why we wanted to be a part of the growth of the game. We did it. Our primary objective. Jay and I pitched it to the board back in 2 or 3 years ago now, just under 3 years really. And since then we've had an incredible journey as a football club, going from amateur status and then our first season turning semi-professional, winning the league, then going into last season, huge challenge, but we did brilliantly to come through it and become professional. And this change has come so quickly, but it's got to be part of what you've got to decide whether you want to be part of it or whether you don't. Michael Eisner and his family are firmly committed to it, so much so that their investment now for next season will be fourfold what it was when we first started. More than that, actually. It's an incredible amount of money. And the bad news I've had to give to Michael is it doesn't get any easier. It's going to be even more next season as well. And that's the challenge that we face. The sort of growth of the game at the moment is probably sort of characterised by where the league want to get to by 2030, when the next broadcasting deal comes around, and they perceive that there will be increased investment coming into the league. And we are in a situation in the interim period, because that broadcasting deal lasts that long, there's not going to be a lot more money coming in from TV, which is in the men's game, the women's game. That really is the huge revenue generator. So we have to look at what they might be able to do sponsorship-wise. And they're doing a great job at the moment in terms of bringing a lot of new sponsors in. They've got some exciting projects lining up. But at the moment, that's insufficient to filter it down to take the pressure off owners. So that's a debate, particularly, I think, in WSL2 clubs, where I think 5 of us are EFL clubs, where our owners are already funding huge losses in our men's team. We saw the success of London City Lionesses last year. London City, obviously funded independently by Michelle Kang, and who's operating that multi-club model across the world and investing millions into that, but without the sort of the constraints, or without the responsibility for having to fund the men's team as well. Premier League clubs are in a different world anyway, as we all know, in terms of the income that's coming from them, and some of them tactically are using their women's teams to overcome PSR at the moment as well. So there is, that huge sort of acceleration, Ian, is something we've got to accept to be part of. Minimum standards, quite rightly so, are increasing. For example, we have to have now a fully qualified physiotherapist, whereas before a sports therapist was acceptable. But to get the licence, you've got to increase more staff coming in. There's talk of a psychologist coming in, a performance wellbeing coach coming in. We have to put analysis people into the team as well. We've obviously just gone in and invested in the PGA. Brooke's worked incredibly hard in terms of getting the PGA to a stage where we're going to give some young players a real pathway and an opportunity, working closely with Pompey and the community to make that work, and linking up with their own early talent centres, which is for 8 to 12-year-olds. So that's all really, really exciting. And as well, we've now got, obviously, in terms of the players as well, having a salary cap, but the other end having a salary floor, which again is the right thing to do if we're going to progress. So the whole thing is, how do we make the women's game an attractive proposition for people to invest in, whether that be people to come and watch the games, supporters, whether it be sponsors to come in. And at the moment, I think the Lionesses have had that sort of effect at the moment, where there's more sponsorship money coming in the top end of the game, into the international team. There's a little bit of a halo effect coming into the Super League, but we're not seeing at the moment at club level. And that's a task that, that does concern me, because that investment and requirement on owners has to be done in a steady fashion. And there is that sort of dichotomy at the moment where potentially for WSL2 clubs, the league are probably trying to run a little too fast, in my opinion, and that's purely my opinion, rather than maybe just do it in a measured way, in a safe to operate way, where we can be sustainable. None of us want to see the mistakes that the men's game made sort of 25, 30 years ago, where there was opportunities to run sustainably and it got totally out of control. So yeah, it's a challenge, and the way we could do that is, for us, is how do we grow attendances? How do we increase sponsorship coming into the football club? What can we do ourselves? And the fact that so many of you here tonight, and Ian, thank you for what you've done and your team of volunteers to establish the supporters club, because that is a real testimony in terms of a successful club and how it can grow. And without it, we couldn't move forward. So hopefully together we could work together as a football club, supporters club, to continue to grow that interest. And I'll finish on a long, waffly answer, just by reminding everybody why we did this, or why Michael invested in it in the first place. And that was to inspire young girls and females in Portsmouth to engage in an active, healthy lifestyle by having role models like Jazz and other players to look up to and want to take part. And I think one of the great, I missed it, but Eric was there, and Jay and Jazz were part of it, but the fantastic response that we had at John Jenkins on the Utility Day and the Utility Sponsorship Day, where all sort of young children came in and were able to engage with players, were brilliant and engage with them. And that would have inspired a lot of kids to think, I want to play football, and if I don't want to play football, I'm going to take up a healthy lifestyle. If we can continue to do that and make the girls role models for other girls in Portsmouth, younger girls, then we're on our journey, we've succeeded, and we've achieved what we set out to do.
Yeah, this one's not working. You need to grab that one. Yeah. I think if I turn this one on, it turns that one on.
Thank you. As continuing thinking about money coming in, I've been buying a season ticket since I could, and I look at the cost. I think, and I want to know if I'm not thinking about who can afford and who can't afford, but do you not think that the low price of a season ticket and a match ticket undermines the value of the status of the women's team? When you think what you pay for a men's season ticket and a men's match ticket, how can you perhaps prove and show that the women are worth more money? Because they need that status, and I think having a very low season ticket doesn't show that they've got that status.
I think that's a really, really good point, and I think it comes down to two factors. One, what we want to do at the moment is grow the interest by making the product, for want of a better word, accessible to as many people as possible. There's a competitive context in the pricing that we have set for this year, and we did it in consultation with Ian and some of the committee, is about par for the course as what you would pay at any other club as well. So we've got to be mindful of that. But it is something that we've wrestled with, and we have wrestled in. Should we actually reduce the prices even more to get more people in? And I think exactly for the reasons you stated, then you start to devalue the product somewhat. And that's why we're trying to pitch it at a reasonable sort of level that makes it acceptable at £80 for a season ticket. Trying to make the match day prices. Now, the problem I think we've got at the moment is it's difficult to get that expansive growth in the team whilst we're not at Portsmouth. And the sooner we can get to play all our games here at Portsmouth, then I think we get that growth. Then we can start to look at the other elements of pricing and how that works. But I think at the stage we are playing off the island, and Hammond are absolutely brilliant in giving us their facilities and a stadium which is compliant to meet the WSL requirements to play on match days. It's great. But we can see when we come to Fratton Park, crowds of over 2,000. If we can keep that, that's great. And I've had a long and hard negotiation with the groundsman over the summer to get 4 games here next year. It cost me a bit, but we got there. And so it's great to have obviously had the first, or the second and third games here against Southampton and Sheffield United, and then the last 2 home games of the season. And I think that's fantastic because, again, it just being on the island is so important. It's the reason, why Fratton Park's still here, and other people, might have looked at building a stadium away from Fratton Park off the island somewhere. But we know that, our whole DNA, the whole way that in the men's team, the importance of being here, the atmosphere we create, and it's something that certainly Michael's bought into, and why he decided to ensure the stadium did stay here by refurbishing the stadium last year. Now, get the women here as well on a full-time basis. And the way it's not, all we need to do is spend £1.5 million on a new pitch, and then we're there. But we've got to do it sooner rather than later, so it's coming.
Andy, can I just follow up on a question around season tickets and pricing? I will ask this question, I know it's on people's minds, but the recent change of the 4 tiers and the extra early bird prices 48 hours before, which initially on the website said the Fratton Park games, and then it was suddenly changed to the first 2 Fratton Park games. Now, if you work out, and someone did the calculations, if you bought a season ticket, actually you're not getting the benefit of a reduction for your season ticket, so you're effectively devaluing getting a season ticket. So are you going to be reviewing that in the future?
I think we'll watch to see how it goes this season. This was a really big debate we had together as a group back in May with Ian and the team. I think we were conscious of that. We pointed out that if we did this particular model, then at Fratton Park, then there would be a little bit of a dichotomy between the 2 prices. But I think everybody sort of agreed that we should give it a go just for 2 games, trying to get those kids in for free on the advance price. And by the way, that only lasts for 48 hours, and then it goes. And it's only 2 games at Fratton Park, so I think there's no plans to extend it beyond there. But let's just have a look, because, quite frankly, despite being promoted, our attendance has stagnated last year. In fact, they were a little bit down than when we were in the first tier. So we have to try and give it a stimulus, and the best way we can probably do it is at Fratton Park. Now, the objective that we've all got is to grow the number of season ticket holders coming into the club. And if we can generate that sort of seed corn investment by people experiencing a live women's football match for the very first time, and don't forget, this is a totally different audience. Many of us in this room have followed men's football, but the future of the women's game is a totally different demographic. It's people who just aren't interested in the men's game. It's about that whole new audience, and it is about, we follow teams. A lot of the case in the women's game, it's to follow players, and it's quite usual to see a supporter of a club transition when their favourite player joins another club in the WSL. So it's slightly different. So we've got to think a little bit differently, not think of the names, but do want to give the season ticket holders, of course we do, in terms of giving the value, but if we can all work together to see if we can generate more and more season ticket holders and encourage growth and future attendances going forward. That's great. Particularly, let's go back to it, if we've got the impending move coming to Fratton Park, that will be fantastic.
I mean, you know, the key is to get that money in early, isn't
Yeah.
it? Which is your season tickets, but I do appreciate you've got to get that attendance up, and this is a way of encouraging more people to come in the first
Yeah,
place.
it's a tricky balance, but I think it's one that it's not set in stone. So I think listen, take those on board, and I think Mark judges will be very much all over it and looking at it in terms of how that's worked and how we then make sure we maximise the marketing around those 4 games.
So, sorry, Andy, just literally on the tail end of that then, and thinking of it as on match day sale, there are going to be some people that will see their attendance price on a match day who don't buy in advance and a season ticket double practically 100%, if not more. Do you think that is going to have a negative effect then on those that wait till the day to turn up?
No, I don't think so. I think the whole idea here is to encourage people to book early, because it is, so much of our sales is done on the day. We don't, in the last 2 years, Mark's looked at it, advance sales are very, very poor. So we've got some sort of incentive to encourage people to book a little bit earlier. That's the commitment that you've got. Sometimes you wake up the day, am I going to go to the game or not? Well, it's a bit cold today, it's pouring with rain.
It's raining.
That's
what we always saw.
Yeah, so that's what we're trying to do here, but let's monitor it and see how it goes. As I said, it's a different way of thinking about it, perhaps a little bit unconventional, but that's why then it looks complicated as well, having those 4 bands, but don't forget, one of those bands is only for 2 Fratton Park games and it's 48-hour window only. So it'll take a bit of time, I think, but it's something that continue to review. Does it meet the objectives? Does it help grow attendances? If it doesn't, then we have to look at it differently.
Sorry, can I just...
I'm hogging the mic here.
We need the mic. Well, can you get it? Otherwise, it won't come out of the video. People won't know what question.
I just wanted to ask, with regards the men's, and I apologise if I'm covering something that's already been said, but
It won't come out of the
bit
video.
into this. When you give out tickets to football teams and things to encourage children to come along, is that done with the women's? And is it only done with girls' football teams, or is it done with things like girl guides or school football teams and things?
I'll hand that one over to Brooke.
So in terms of kind of strategies to giving out tickets, we tend to work really closely with the projects that the trust are running. So that can be different. Sometimes it is the girls' development camps, the school holiday camps, which I believe have both boys and girls on them. We've also worked closely with a lot of schools. We've tried not to give out lots of just free tickets. We always try to kind of gather data with that as well, so we can get a little bit more information on who is actually coming to games, because back on the back of what Andy's just said there, everything that we're doing is about growth and trying to find out what demographic we're working with. So we don't generally just go and give out bundles of tickets, but all of the different campaigns that we run, some will be with football teams, some will be with schools, some will be with the projects that the trust are running, some will be with their holiday camps that they run through the school holiday. So it varies across so many different things. And generally it's like a code where you can get a ticket for £1 or whatever. You just have to sign up to obviously the platform that the tickets are on, so that we can then push the growth of the game.
Yeah, the only reason I ask is because, there are some girls that maybe can't play football because of physical reasons or health issues. And although it's all about promoting a healthy lifestyle as well, I was just curious as to how much is done with groups that aren't necessarily directly related to the football as a player.
It's definitely something we can take back and look at. Obviously, locally, we work with a lot of either sports or football related clubs. I know the Trust do work on some projects that aren't sports related, but we can absolutely take that back from like a commercial and marketing point of view and see what partnerships or relationships we're not building in order to reach those audiences, for sure.
And to add to that, one of the big opportunities we have is to get as many of the players out into local schools, into local sports clubs as well, to take that message forward and sell it. So whatever your ability is, whatever your health conditions might be, or whatever, you want to come and watch the game, or as I said, it goes back to having those role models. I think it's hugely important, and we can see that with the Lionesses, can't we, in terms of what that's created.
Everybody wants to play football.
Yeah.
People do just want to watch it.
Yeah.
So it's getting them into that first game and then getting them hooked.
Question for Andy. Following on from the oh, yeah.
We need to use the mic, or people watching the video won't hear it.
Okay. Yeah, just following on with the attendances subject. Oh, firstly, congratulations for becoming team captain, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, as we know, the women's game is growing massively and getting more attendances, which is great. And with the Lionesses, recently what they've done this year and the Euros again, hopefully coming season attendances will be even bigger. But I was just wondering, is there any other ways we can sort of get it more? Because I know in programmes sometimes on the big screen in Fratton Park, some of the women's games are advertised. I was just wondering if there's any other ways we can sort of advertise the games more and get more people attending the games, and particularly home games.
Yeah, I think there's no monopoly on good ideas, and I think there's hundreds of initiatives that you can put forward to encourage people. But we've got to make the most of our social channels, because again, people getting up, but we've got to be really targeted in the way that we do it, because we're only touching a fraction of the audience in Fratton Park. There's this huge, all the research that WSL have done, which is fantastic. It shows the opportunity that exists outside that traditional football supporter that comes to watch the men's game, and that's the other area that we've got to really target. And I think by getting out and again creating, as I said, creating stories about the team is we've seen documentaries, haven't we, with the men's team recently, and how much interest that's created in teams like Wrexham and Sunderland in the past, but it's about how we can use our own social media channels to tell a few stories as well. That gets people interested, so they want to be a part of it and want to come down and find out more and come to the games. So yeah, there's lots of different ways that we can get out there in terms of marketing the product, how we take it forward. But we've got some great opportunities. We've got Ben and Max on our social media, creating good content all the time, and that's how we do it. And that's how we create and get the profiles going. Rumour has it we've got a player now with lots of social media profiles as well, which will help. So.
Hi, I've got a question for Jay and Brooke. I just wondered how player recruitment's going, whether you're looking to fill more positions, and what you think about the teams that are coming up and new to the division and the challenge they might pose.
Yeah, I think the teams that are coming up obviously have been busy in recruitment. I think both, especially Nottingham Forest, I think a lot of clubs coming into the league now realise the jump from Tier 3 to Tier 2 is probably bigger than what you anticipate. It was for us last season. What the players did last year, I think it was 13 or 14 of the group that had won the title that had stayed on, was remarkable. However, the demands of the league physically, mentally, tactically is huge. So we had to make, and we obviously had to make amendments to the group over the off season. Some players that have been with us for a number of years have been fantastic servants to the football club, and then again it's just about highlighting certain profiles, but obviously with the clubs that we're competing with, I think financially that there is a difficulty in competition, like there is when you look at the men's game. I know John was talking about Birmingham and Wrexham. For us, you've got Nottingham Forest, who are Premier League club, Ipswich, who have got parachute payments, both coming into the league, Crystal Palace replacing what was obviously financially high London City team. But for us, we've done our kind of business early with a lot of the players that we brought in. Really happy, obviously, to get Jazz over the line. That was the number one target for us after her performances from last season. And then we highlighted specific profiling of players that we knew we could probably attract to the football club that would allow us to grow. Still believe there's a few spaces that we obviously need to fill. I'd like to bring in another number 9 and maybe some defensive cover. So there's been a lot of work over the last few months to get them in place, and hopefully that before the window closes on the 4th of September we can have a couple more.
Now that Molly's left and there's the demise of the under-23s, where's the progression coming from?
Well, the progression for us will be from the PGA. So we've had really positive talks, and I know Brooke has too, with the pathway at Pompey in the community. So they've got obviously the ETC, I believe, at under 8s, where the top local players can come in and train together within a highly professionalised environment with specialised coaches. And then Pompey in the community have been growing, obviously over the years behind the scenes, where Mick Williams had that set up, and then Kirsty and Craig Pearce and Claire have taken it over. And there's some really talented players, especially under 12s and the 14s, that are going through that pipeline. And now with the PGA, we feel we've got that kind of bridge now from when they finish at under 16s and through the BTEC course into the first team. So that's something that has been working on, and the bespoke package will basically enable players of that age to do their education alongside training as a player in the first team. We've got a couple of players that are doing that at the minute, and then hopefully that will grow as the years go on. We can have a bigger pool of players and prevent clubs like Southampton and Brighton and Bournemouth on the south coast from taking Pompey-based players, and hopefully giving players that live in a PO postcode an opportunity to not only represent Portsmouth but to represent a professional football club in Portsmouth. So that's the aim, and obviously the trade-off to that was obviously losing Molly in the under-23s, who have served us really well over the years. But now to be compliant, which Brooke can probably speak more, now to be compliant, we have to have a professional game academy.
I think it's about time Jazz has another question. She's sitting there very quietly, taking it all in. Yeah, congratulations on becoming captain. You must be really proud, as anything as we are, to have you with us. What qualities do you see yourself having as a captain, and what do you hope for this season?
Yeah, first of all, it's an honour to be captain of this club and lead the girls week in, week out. I like to think I'm a leader, and just having a good relationship with staff and players and being that link between the two. I think in this league, communication is key on the pitch and off the pitch. So hopefully I'll be able to bring about that. But yeah, I just think what got us through the back end of last season was having that togetherness, and if we can maintain that as a group and I can lead that, then that'll be really important.
Do you have a loud voice?
Do you want to ask Jay that one? Yeah, if I need to.
Because I think, as you say, communication is key, both on and off the pitch, and I think that's what, in my opinion, that's what makes a really good captain, that they can manage on the pitch when they need to, and that they are heard. And
yeah, definitely. Communication is so important, and that's why sometimes we have to go over to Jay and see what he's seeing on the sidelines, and it's being able to then us translating that onto the pitch. So yeah, it's definitely important.
Well, good luck for this season.
Thank you.
Being as the season is now only a couple of weeks away, why is it we've not had the opportunity to see how the new signed players fit in with the existence by way of friendlies?
You know, I was kind of hoping that would come up so I can give some transparency. So from me obviously being at the club now for 9 years, I think stepping into professionalisation is so different. So no team unfortunately wants to play on artificial pitches. So in order for us to build a pre-season that will give us the competitive nature we need, if we play in teams in our league or teams in the Super League, they want to play on grass pitches, because I think only us and Durham this year will be playing on an artificial pitch. So a lot of teams try to avoid that. And then we look at, if there are going to be games that we can host at home, then it's what you can get out of it, essentially. So with the greatest of respects, we played Cheltenham last year away from home. I think that was 4-0. Watford last year at home was 5-1. The 2 games against the under-21s were 5-0 and 5-1. And then this year we've obviously played Brighton and Hove Albion behind closed doors. We played Crystal Palace behind closed doors, and what them games bring from a physical capacity and a mental capacity is far greater than what we've had. If I had it my way, we'd be having 2 or 3 games at home with the fans and get a feel of playing at Westley Park and in front of the fans, and you get to see all the 10 players that we brought into the football club. It's just a shame that we haven't been able to host the game due to that reason. So therefore a lot of our games are away from home, and unfortunately it's stipulated by a lot of the away teams that their preference is to play behind closed doors at training grounds.
Those games that you have been behind closed doors. Although they're away, it doesn't give the supporters the opportunity to see those players. And the other point is, why would you not be able to use Cotner, the training ground, on a Sunday for a friendly match where spectators could go along and watch?
From my opinion, I think with Cotner at the training ground, I think John has two pitches to use, and they obviously get used daily, minus maybe 1 day a week, and then the academy on the back pitch. And I think if we were to, it's something we could definitely explore. There's nothing to say we couldn't, but I think from the conversations we've had in terms of their preparation, training, and usage of pitches, it will be quite difficult. There could be a way of outsourcing a different maybe venue that we could host games at, but I think my preference would be to play games in front of fans and have pre-season games where you can see the players and we can get a feel of an atmosphere and it not be behind closed doors in a training ground with none of that. But unfortunately, with playing these games, it does come with a stipulation of behind closed doors, no social media, etc. And for us to get the games in, sometimes we have to trade off and agree to terms that are that kind of condition with us.
Thank you for your answer.
So, just for one, do we know when season tickets are being sent out? Because we're only a couple of weeks away from there. And for Jazz and Jay, how is settling into the JJ been over the summer?
I'll go first. Yeah, we're loving it there. I think it's definitely something that we all really appreciate. Moving over from Havant, I think we really appreciate the Havant that I haven't and being able to train there, but also at JJ's a lot better facilities, and we have the gym there, we have everything on site, which makes the day a lot easier. And the pitches are really nice, and yeah, I think we're really enjoying it, so hopefully we'll be able to show that on the pitch this season.
Yeah, I think the transition for us was obviously going from tier 3 to tier 2, going part-time to full-time, and then not really understanding that going from semi-professional to professional is also a massive transition. I think some people might think it's like a light switch, and actually it evolves over time, and I think even from us, there's still areas that we obviously want to grow in from a professional point of view. I think from my time having obviously what we were able to have last year to transition and enable us to be a professional football club, it helped that journey. It maybe didn't give us exactly what we needed from a professional point of view, whereas this year what the new agreement and obviously working closely with Claire and Craig and Kirsty down there, it's enabled us, like Jazz has said, to have fully functioning gym on site, an analysis hub, an area we can eat, an area the players can get changed, and also accessibility to, in my opinion, two of the best artificial pitches there are on the island. But also I think it's the community piece. We're there every day in this year, or these last few weeks, on the pitch opposite to us. There's been holiday camps going on, and while we're training, and there's this community feel about it, while we can still maintain our professionalism, we can also outsource to the community and get involved in some of the projects that are going on there, and heavily link with Pompey in the community. And I think if we can make that partnership even stronger, then it will help our growth moving forward.
And season tickets?
I hate to say it, but I don't get involved in that level of detail, but I will ensure that Mark judges lets everybody know when they are coming out. That's it.
Question. Hello. A question for Brooke. I think you've been with us just over a year now. What's been your high points and low points, and maybe your biggest frustration?
That's a great question. High points, easy, staying in the league. I think the turnaround from Christmas to the end of the season last year was nothing short of miraculous. I feel like it's a really interesting journey to go from a part-time team to a full-time team, and to achieve that from the very short time that the team's transitioned was incredible, so that's definitely the highlight. I don't think there's any lows. I think it's just, as you grow, obviously there's teething issues as you're trying to grow quickly. Like Andy says, the league is just growing at an exponential rate, so trying to keep up with that and maintain kind of what Portsmouth want to get out of this as a business and a football club, and then also where women's football's going and what the league's ambitions are, and trying to manage both of those things, make sure we're doing things sustainably and at a pace that we can actually keep up with. Our resources are a lot less than other teams, so we have to work differently and smarter in some ways. But yeah, I don't think they're lows. I just think that's the kind of natural thing that happens when something goes from being quite small to being relatively big quite quickly. So like Andy alluded to, we're recruiting lots of new staff. The first team requirements are increasing. We've added an academy which will have 5 or 6 new members of staff coming in. So that obviously comes at quite a challenge to get people in quickly and to still keep kind of the culture and what you're all still fighting for. So I think they're kind of the things that we would have found difficult in the last 12 months, but it's still exciting, and you're almost able to create something that you want it to be, because it's obviously not existed before, so there are exciting sides to those things as well. But yeah, I think staying up at the end of last season has obviously given us a great canvas to continue to build and to shape what us as a club and the community want Portsmouth Football Club to look like from a women's side.
To all, how were you feeling when watching the Lionesses over the summer? Because British have made most of us hide behind pillows, then jumping around in their rooms at 11 o'clock at night when it got to penalties and extra time and all that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no. From a footballing point of view, I think we were effective. I don't think we were the best team, in my opinion. I thought Spain were outstanding to watch in terms of the football, but I think England obviously found a way, and with Serena in charge and 5 finals in a run, we've got a specialist, and I think watching what she was able to do and watching it from a footballing perspective of, felt she had a plan for everything, and it really opened my eyes to think, actually, if you are 1 down or you are 1 up, what's the plan? What have you got available to you behind you? How important your finishes are off the bench. I think from a fan's point of view, I think you're right. I've got, I say memories of my 2 boys that I stood watching the penalty at the end, and the emotion outpour was like it was a winning goal to win a major trophy, which it was. And I think it was incredible that my 9-year-old boy now has Alessio Russo's name on the back of his England shirt. He didn't want Harry Kane. I think to have a boy now that looks up, especially to these role models, like he was in the garden chanting Jemima Dahu's name the other day, and I don't think you like me when I told her, but I think it's incredible that what it's had now on the that kind of knock-on effect now to the younger generation, I think was incredible. I think the fact that every game was accessible as well on good timings, and obviously it was a really good tournament. But to win it again, it was incredible. And like you've all said, hopefully now we see it as a knock-on effect, not only for the top level, but also for the WSL 2 too.
Yeah, I'll add. I think my heart was in my mouth for quite a lot of it, actually. I actually couldn't wait for the penalties to be over on some of them, just because I felt so stressed. I think I'm actually awful at watching football. I'm better off on the pitch. But no, it was amazing to see, and I think hopefully lots of young girls and young people watch that, and hopefully more people get involved in this country as well and aspire to be like that one day. Don't know if you do want to add anything.
No, it's hugely dramatic. It's what live sport's all about, and it's just compelling, isn't it? So you don't get anything in a drama series like that on television at all. That's the beauty, and that's why it's not an appointment to watch. It's you get out there, you look forward to the game, and then you watch it, and you just get that roller coaster of emotions. No matter how well you play, the result's never in doubt, and that is the beauty of live sport, particularly football. So thoroughly enjoyable, and I think much needed as well to give the game that extra shot and boost in the arm, which it undoubtedly has done.
I literally couldn't watch any more penalty shootouts. I found the whole tournament, I just felt like there were so many penalty shootouts. But I suppose obviously playing for England and just being English, watching the generation of girls that have gone before those that you see on the TV, for me is probably a really proud moment, because women's football has got to where it has because of lots of females before those, and I think the team that won this tournament acknowledged that. So for me it was just proud but very stressful, and possibly some of the worst penalty shootouts I've ever seen at a tournament before in my life.
Jay, are you going to practice penalties?
Me personally?
We got some stats the following day as well, and I think it was the most viewed television programme of this year, that final, which is fantastic for the game.
And that last penalty had to be Chloe Kelly, didn't it? Had to be.
Sorry, Jay, I got asked this. William's devastated that Sophie Quirk left. There's obviously a team is made up of more than one player, we know that, and we know it's football. Players come and players go, but Sophie was a huge part of what this team has achieved over the last few years, and her contributions with goals and assists. Her leaving is obviously really disappointing to the fan base, but especially considering she's gone down in division. Now obviously there's going to be things that you can't make public, and that's completely understandable, but what could the club done anything different to make her stay, or was she always going to leave? And how do you go about replacing so many goals and assists that she brought to the team?
I think you're right in terms of obviously teams made up with more than one player. However, I won't lie and say that Sophie Quirk's been a cult hero for the last few years since we brought her in. Her goals, her assists, performances, contribution, running down that wing has enabled us to be in a position we're in with a lot of other players that have obviously played their part over the years. I personally don't believe the club could have done any more to keep Sophie Quirk, and I think we actually did enough to keep her for as long as we could. It was, I can be transparent with it because I've spoken with Sophie Quirk about this knowing it was going to come up, but for some people the journey is too quick to go to professionalisation. It might sound crazy because a lot of players' dreams, especially female athletes, now they've got the opportunity is to be full-time professional, but for some that lifestyle's too much. It's a 24/7 demand, like Jazz will say. She goes home now, she's not off, she's still a football player. What she can and can't do, and can and can't eat, and how you're going to sleep, and how we monitor it is 24/7 all the way through the year. And we had conversations with Soph 6 months into the season at Christmas in terms of what her preference was and how she enjoys playing semi-professional football and working during the day. We had real good conversations with her, and the girls had conversations with her too, and she committed for the remainder of the season, which I'm internally grateful for, because I believe her performances towards the back end of the year really helped us get us over the line in our survival. Likewise with Reva Castley as well, another player that I think if both of them wanted to stay, they would be massive parts of where we wanted to go. But unfortunately, along the journey, you have to lose players, whether that's my decision or our decision as a multidisciplinary, or off the basis of the players. And it was an unfortunate one that she wanted to leave, and now we've obviously got a space that we now need to fill, and it is difficult. I think this year, with obviously the Euros being on, the market has been dry, especially for wide forwards with the profiling that we like in terms of being a merchant at 1v1 and beating players and getting crosses in the box. And so we've maybe had to slightly adapt when we're looking at certain players, but I'm really confident in Ange Nixon and Tia Primer and players in the attacking unit that we have brought in that will excite fans. And then also adding Jazz and Lucy, who are really aggressive fullbacks that want to get up the pitch and can get us high and link and support too. So we maybe had to slightly adapt with obviously losing her. But listen, I'll be forever grateful for what she's done for this football club, and I know she made a decision, and I respect that. And obviously I wish her and Reva all the best in their moves to Bournemouth and to Oxford.
This is for Jay. Do you feel that the squad of players that you've got for this coming season is stronger than the squad you had last season?
I think overall as a squad, if we can get a couple more in, then yes. I believe we've brought in the profiles that we highlighted over the off season. Jess Gray. Listen, it was always going to be difficult to replace Hannah Horton for me in terms of just her presence, her leadership, etc. But in Jess, we've got a 6'2" goalkeeper, which is rare in the women's game as well, and a player that has a real stature and presence, and was Charlton's #1 a couple of years ago, and last year was obviously competing with another top keeper in Sophie Whitehouse. We highlighted a left-footed left-back in Lucy Johnson, and now it allows us balance, and I think we're going to unlock more of Jazz's potential on that right-hand side. And then obviously replacing Reva late in the window is difficult, but in Annie Wilding we've got a player who's made a Super League debut at Everton. She's still 21 years of age, and I believe she will grow into being a really, really astute centre-back as well. And then further up the pitch, we've able to bring in players that have still got WSL experience. Tia Primer was in and around the WSL with Reading, and her qualities all for there to see, and likewise with the other players, Jemima and Ange and Comfort and the players that we've been able to bring in. So I think in terms of experience at this level, I think it's an upgrade. I think in terms of professionalisation and the understanding and the experience they've got, I believe it. And I also think the togetherness. What's really surprised me in a good way is I don't know, you'll obviously say, Jazz, but in terms of the togetherness the group has, considering we brought in 10 new players, is as if they've been together for months and years, not just weeks. So I'm really confident in this group, that this group will have enough to establish in the league. We're obviously going to have some difficult moments, some hardships like we did last year, and against some top teams. But I believe every game is going to be a fight. Every game's going to be difficult. But I definitely believe the players have got the quality to overcome the challenges, and I do believe for that we're stronger, in a stronger position than we were last year.
In between the Solent forum and this one tonight, Jay, have you managed to buy Hannah her Starbucks yet?
She messaged me straight after, thank you, asking for her Starbucks and for a meet. So that's still to be scheduled, but it will be. I will. I'm a man of promises, so I'll stick up to that. Thank you.
Just another for Jay. Firstly, congratulations on being named Championship Manager of the Year last season. just wondered how that evening went and how that felt. And secondly, just because we sponsor her, I just wondered how Jazz Younger's rehabilitation is coming along and whether she's in training and in contention now this season.
Yeah, no, thanks. I think I've had a few surprises in my life. That was probably the biggest I've ever received. I never expected that. But I think what it is recognition to everyone, not only to the team behind the team with the multidisciplinary, a lot of who have been here for a number of years, to the players, the off-pitch staff, the staff that work so hard behind the scenes to get all the games on. To you as fans, I think together we kind of came together and really showed what we were about in them last 6 games, and there was unwavering belief. I genuinely believe there was never a moment that I felt we were going to go down last season. I genuinely believed it was going to click. Obviously it was getting later and later and later into the season. But that awards evening was something that'll stick with me. Like for me, meeting some incredible people and having conversations not only about the men's game but about the women's game. Sonia Bombasta next door, who obviously is a legend of the women's game and what she's achieved at Chelsea, and to have the opportunity just to kind of exchange. I say exchange, I didn't give her anything, she gave me a lot of advice and tips, and I didn't give her anything, I won't lie. I was the one pouring the wine, to be fair. But no, I think that was just an incredible moment, and it just shows the growth of the game, the growth of us as a football club. So it's a really proud moment for me to represent the club there. And then in regards to the injury front, we're in a real good place with the players returning back to ACL. Annie Hutchins, she's in a really good place physically, and I think she's looking at more of a late kind of January to February time, and hopefully back on the balls in the next coming weeks from an isolated perspective. Emily Pittman, another one, obviously returning back from ACL, probably a couple of months away in terms of her, which she's been doing light unopposed ball work. And likewise Jazz Younger, who after conversations with Ollie and the team is probably the closest in terms of returning. For her now, she's kind of on that last leg of getting her conditioning up and working, and she's been involved in sessions more from an unopposed point of view, and then we'll start to build her up. And I think, if I'm right, and I know where's Bill, she's the longest serving player, Jazz Younger, that we have at 7 years. So at the minute, am I right in thinking that? No, who's? Yeah, I think it's true. Yeah, so she's obviously been here for 7 years, and for her now to hopefully in the coming months, it'll be an incredible moment for her if she is able to make her debut, and all the provisions have been put in place for that, and she's still working really hard. So we're really hopeful that she'll be able to be on the pitch before the end of the year.
Where did you put the picture of you and Jurgen?
I replaced the picture above my bed of me, Nat, and the boy at our wedding with a blown-up image of me and my favourite person. Second favourite person. Sorry, boys, for watching.
The data analysis has become more and more important in player recruitment. What access do you have to that, and how do you use it?
You know, we're really grateful that there's been an opportunity for us to invest in that. Last season we had full access to a lot of the similar provisions that the men's team have in terms of obviously Y-Scout, which you can access any player and watch any player in any country, as well as having a link with StatsBomb, which obviously tracks all of the data. So we were able to then build with our recruitment lead, Grace, who's done a remarkable job in the recruitment over the off-season. We're able to build for the first time kind of like our player profiling. So if we want to be a team that is high press, high energy, has a lot of ball carries and vertical play, we can then look at players that fit that mould in terms of the profiling. I think the next layer to that now will be the physical aspects of it. So when we do recruit players, looking at the physical data. I know Jazz is to the right of me, but in terms of her physical attributes as a fullback are so high in comparison to players as well at this level. So for us, it's about trying to bring in not only the right player in terms of all of that data, which has been so key to ensure that we bring players that are the right player, not just the best player. But the biggest thing for us has been the conversations we've had with the people to ensure that we're bringing in the right people that represent this football club. Hence why Jazz was the candidate for me to be captain, in terms of her tenacity, her drive, her determination, her respect, her maturity when we've had conversations. But also players that understand what it's like to represent this club and to stay connected with the fans. I think something that I'll take accountability for towards the end of the year was, I think there was probably less or more of a divide due to the pressures that were on us to stay up. Whereas I think going forward we have to have players that will connect with the fans, understand that they are profiles and we need to build their profiles up. But what's really important is that connection we have with the fans, whether it was the 125 that travelled up to Newcastle or the select few that were unfortunate to travel all the way to Durham in what was a really poor performance. We need to ensure that we are connected and we have people that understand that. And for me, that's why Jazz is the captain and leads that. So it's been kind of a holistic point in development, in recruitment, from the characteristics to the physical to obviously the tech, but also I think the final piece is the linkage we can have with the men's as well. They've been superb, from Rich through to Brad, who's the recruitment lead as well, to enable that we align them processes and we kind of ensure them processes are really good and we can continue to build and grow over the coming years.
To Jazz and to are you ready yet for the Durham-antics? All the diving and what have you that they give?
I wasn't here for Durham home last time round, but I was there for Durham away, and I think we just put them to bed after that. So yeah, hopefully whatever will happen Durham home last time round, we can make it better this time. And I think to bring them down a long way for their first game of the season is actually perfect for us. When I saw that fixture, I was really happy about it. First of all, it being home and the fact that they have to travel so far. So no, I'm excited for it. It'll be good.
Should have been a 12 o'clock kickoff.
I won't comment.
It's good we get them out of the way first, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
So Jay, if you're now based solely at JJ, a lot of the time last year you were at obviously the men's training ground. Do you not have quite as much interaction with Moose and his backroom players, or is that still quite high?
Yeah, no, I think over my time I've been really fortunate with the head coaches in place. John, for me, whenever I need to pick up the phone or drop him a message, he's more than happy for us to come into training. I know Lee's been working really closely with Joe Bergomo down there and doing some work around set pieces and goalkeeping. And likewise, if we were to go down as an MDT and to work closely and collaborate, we can do. And like I said, I've been really fortunate with some of the managers that have been at the football club, from Kenny Jackett to Danny Cowley, who still keeps an eye on the women's team. And we get a lot of messages. He was the first one to message when we stayed up last season, which was really good. But yeah, I think that there's still going to be work on that, but I think in terms of, obviously they've got their pressures and we've got ours, but the collaboration there is open, it's an open door, and I think that's something that I'll give a lot of credit to Andy about, in terms of the togetherness of the group. I see a flag that I think Chiv had with 2 teams, 1 club, and I think that was more of a, not necessarily a mantra at the time, it was more of a want and a desire, and now we're seeing it. Now I'm seeing it in terms of the collaboration we're having as a whole football club. I personally feel for the first time in a fair few years now that the women's team is a part of the club, it's a women's team, and if we want to go and speak to any of the staff, then we're more than welcome to do so. And I think a lot of the credit for that from my behalf goes to Andy in regards to that.
Oh yeah, I would honestly say I don't think we would be in the position without Andy backing the women's team, because that's certainly maybe with the past people that were here.
No, I agree, and I don't think Andy would. I think he's very humble in regards to that, and modest. But I agree, and I don't think it's been spoken about that in terms of we would never be a professional football team in a WSL2 if it wasn't for Andy Cullen, and also for Bill Griffiths, Eric Colborne, Helen Chivers, all the volunteers and the people that work so hard for us over the years. We would never be in a position we are. So I think we obviously owe a lot to a lot of people, and now for us it's about attaining that again over the coming years and making sure that we can continue to grow.
Very quick one for you.
Anyone can answer this question apart from Jazz, because she probably won't know. When are we likely to see the Eisners, you know, the men or the women, come and actually watch another of the women's game? Because Jane Eisner at the very beginning was the president of Pompey Women, and I think we had one recorded video call from her, with the odd visit since then. But I think it'd be really good to see their presence at the women's game as well, just to enforce the fact that they are behind the women's team, both for the supporters and the players. And obviously for Jay, you probably talk to them on a regular basis. I don't know, well, not in your office. But I think, you know, we hear about them and see them at the men's game quite regularly, but not so much at the women's game. And I think we're missing a trick there.
I think Michael and Jane came over 3 times last year, and 2 of those visits they attended women's games. So I think they have, you know, when they do come over. Michael's obviously in his mid-80s now, so is Jane, so they're not able to make as many visits as they'd like to. Eric's been to another game as well, more than them. So I think there's that interest, and I think I'm absolutely indebted to them for, obviously we speak about the women's team regularly. They're on the board, all the family are on the board calls with Jay, Brooke and myself, and Eric, Bill too. I'm just indebted to them for the amount of money they're throwing into this venture, and I wouldn't want them to feel criticised anyway or being described as a lack of interest in it, because you don't invest the sums of money they're putting in next year if there wasn't that, if they didn't care. They deeply care, they're deeply interested. I think they were thrilled for Jay when Jay got the Coach of the Year. Messages were coming through to the team as well when we stayed up. They were watching the game. And don't forget this year as well, every game in WSL2 is on YouTube. And just as they do for the men's game, I can guarantee you they'll be watching those games in the US on YouTube as well, in terms of their support. So might not be here in presence, but they're very much involved and engaged. Helen, so give it out. Give it out.
There's no level of criticism against them. I just think that one message from Jane Eisner at the beginning, the reaction from the players, it was like, you know, and I don't know how much they engage with the players on match day, whether, I know they go to the hospitality and everything else, but how much do they actually spend time with the players themselves?
I think they're very shy, and they see the dressing room as being almost like a protected sort of area. They don't like to jump in, even with the men's team. You don't find them. I think we've all been watching too many documentary series.